In this episode, we'll talk about shooting with grids in a studio.
Adorama TV presents Digital Photography One-on-One, where we answer your questions. Here's your host, Mark Wallace.
Hi everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Digital Photography One-on-One. I'm Mark Wallace. Well, we got a question this week from Dennis in Seattle, Washington, and Dennis asked, can you please explain why you would use grids in a studio environment? Well, Dennis, absolutely. In fact, let me show you what a grid looks like. We have some circular grids like this, and these grids pop onto normal reflectors on a studio strobe, and that's what we're going to be using today because I really want to illustrate how you can restrict light using grids. Now, you can also get grids for soft boxes. A lot of people call them egg crates. They work essentially the same way. They allow you to restrict light so it's only going into one area. Now, it's a lot easier to show you what these do than it is to talk about it. So let's hop over into the studio and talk about grids. Now, on some lights, like this is a Profoto head, it actually has a reflector, and this reflector can be zoomed in and out to get different angles that the light comes out of this. And so I took a couple pictures here to show you what this looks like when it's all the way back. And so that is actually at 105 degrees. You can see lots of light coming out of that. I zoomed it into about 75 degrees, so less light is coming out of that. And then all the way to the most restrictive, which is about a 35-degree angle. You can see that I've really restricted the light. So just by taking this and zooming it in and out, I can really affect how the light is coming out of this. Now, other brands can do essentially the same thing, except for you have to buy a bunch of different reflectors. And so you take one off and put one on. And so what I've done here is I've put this on the most restrictive position. So it's a 35-degree angle of light coming out. So it only goes out about 35 degrees. And then I grabbed some of the grids. Now, these grids come in different flavors. So this is a 20-degree grid. This is a 10-degree grid. And this is a really tight grid. It's a 5-degree grid. And you can see that really restricts what goes through there. And so what I did is first, I moved this back here, just like I showed you earlier. So that's right on the gray. And the first thing I did was I put on a 20-degree grid. Take a look at this. You can see that that really restricts the light. And then we can really restrict it even more. So the next thing I did was put a 10-degree grid on there. And so that is less light. And then you can even barely see this, but with a 5-degree grid, we really just have a little teeny dot of light that's going across our gray background. Now, if we were throwing that onto a subject, we would get this round area. And so it wouldn't just be that little thing you saw in the stills, but it would just be a round area. And that's great. This 5-degree grid can be used to light up just somebody's face or just a little area of light behind somebody or a lamp, something like that. So using these, you can take the light, you can really restrict it, and then splash light around in a scene, and you can get it to be like one specific place and nowhere else. It's really interesting. So to show you this in a really real-life example, we're going to bring in a model and show you how to do this. Well, now that we know how grids work to control light and the difference between a 5, 10, and 20-degree grid, let's put it all into practice. So helping me out, Kelsey down here is going to be assisting me by turning lights on and off and moving things around. This is Sharon. She is our model. And so let's get started. So Sharon, let's have you turn and look this way. So Sharon's going to be looking off into the distance. And I'm using a key light, which is this light right here. And I have a 20-degree grid on that light. So it's going to come and be very directional. It's going to illuminate her eyes and just the front of her and nothing else. So it's not going to light up this lamp back here or the background. It's just coming right onto the front of Sharon. So that's really nice. Now back here, what we have is we have this little lamp. And so I will give this to Kelsey. Inside the lamp, I've hidden this speed light. So this has a Pocket Wizard +3. The +3 is actually on zone B. So it's on channel 17, zone B. And that means that I can trigger this separately from the rest of our studio strobes, which are on channel 17, zone A. So I've got two different zones going on. Now this is just going to have a little pop of light, not enough to illuminate anything. It's just going to give some life to this light. And so we want to emulate this light falling on the background. So to do that, I have this light way up here, and that's coming right down, and it's actually falling right behind this lamp. But it's going to look like this lamp is illuminating the background, even though it's not really doing that. Now, the advantages of that is that I can change the shape of the light. I can make it a narrow beam or a wide beam to sort of cheat how things look. And I can change the luminosity. I can make it brighter or darker, which I really, really like. Now, we could stop there, but what I'm going to do here is we have one more light. And so this is going to be a really dark background, and so I've got this light up here that has a 10-degree grid that I can use to illuminate the back of Sharon's hair. So we can use that as well. Now right now I have to tell you that this light, I have it pointing way off, so it's just shooting into space because I don't want it to illuminate anything yet. And then this light that we're going to use to illuminate the background behind this is unplugged, so it's not going to fire when we first start. So let me show you these lights one at a time. So let's go over to the camera here. Now on the camera, what I have a Pocket Wizard Plus 3, and I have it to channel 17, which I mentioned earlier. So the first thing I want to do is just fire Zone A, which right now is just going to be my key light. So let me do this. Let me look through here. I've metered all of this. So Sharon, look right off into space. Perfect. I take a picture. You can look at this picture and now you can see that nothing is illuminated except Sharon, which is really cool. Now what I want to do is start adding these lights in. So I'm going to turn on Zone B, and I'll make sure that that's on. It is. And so now I'm going to take that picture again, this time with the speed light activated. So again, we're going to take that shot, and that looks pretty cool. Now notice it's just Sharon, and it's just this light floating into space. So what I'm going to do is have Kelsey come out. She's going to plug in this other light that we have with the 10-degree grid on it, and what that will do is allow, it will light up the background. So once again, let me take a picture. So same pose, beautiful. I'm going to take a shot, and we can see that that's just a little teeny bit of light on the background, and it looks like our lamp is illuminating the background, even though we know it's not. But we can cheat that and make it brighter, darker. We can change some things. Now notice in that picture that Sharon is sort of blending into the background. So we're going to cheat. We're going to add a kicker light. So Kelsey's going to move that around. She's going to point that right to the back of Sharon's hair. Perfect. And the last time, good. And now we have a shot with all 4 lights firing. And you can see how we can use these lights to really restrict where the light is falling, and we can make a scene that is exactly what we want out of just these 4 lights. And it's great if you're in an environment like this where you have a garage door and a bunch of rolls of paper and all kinds of stuff. You can say, I just want the light to be here. You can shape the light and you can make something brand new. And you can see working with grids gives you all kinds of possibilities. Well, there's another reason you might want to use grids in your lighting setups, and that's to restrict light from falling on your camera's lens. And so let me first walk you through this lighting setup. Now, this is a lighting setup that I've stolen from the movie Hugo. It's sort of an inspired by Hugo lighting setup, I guess. And it has really strong backlight and really restricted front light. And so all of these lights have grids. Now this key light right here has a 5-degree grid. And so it's just coming in and illuminating Sharon's face, and that's it. It's just really, really restricted. And I'm overexposing just a little bit. Now, because this is just illuminating her face, I have this reflector down here that's bouncing a little bit of light from this backlight right here. So this light is shining over her shoulder, giving us that really strong backlight, and some of that's bouncing from this reflector and filling in. So that's basically a fill light. And then this light back here is just adding a splash of light on the background. And if we wanted to, in an ideal situation, we would add a lot more detail and depth to that background. But I'm trying to keep it simple. Now, one of the problems is with a really strong light in the back like that, it'll fall into your lens. Now, normally, we use something like this, which is called a flag, to block the light from hitting our lens, because that light can cause lens flare, it can reduce contrast, all things we want to avoid. But there's an easier way to do that. So I'll climb up on this ladder here, and we're going to put the camera right where our camera's lens is, and you can see when I turn on this modeling light that there's a lot of light falling right into the lens. And so what I can do, I'll take a 20-degree grid, I'll plop that right here onto my light, and you can see that that keeps the light from falling on the lens, but it allows light to fall right onto the back of Sharon. We have that strong backlight. We don't have lens flare or any low contrast, and things work out great. So let me take a couple of pictures and show you what this looks like. Dennis, thank you so much for the question. If you have a question like Dennis about photography or photography gear, please send it to me at askmark@adorama.com. And don't forget, please subscribe to our YouTube channel because we've got all kinds of videos. We don't want you to miss a single one. And if you have, you can always zip over to the Adorama Learning Center where we have all of our videos posted with links to all the gear that we've used and links to other videos and articles and reviews and all kinds of stuff. So don't miss out on that stuff because it is a wealth of great information. Well, thanks again for joining me. I'll see you again next week.
This episode is brought to you by Adorama TV. Visit the Adorama Learning Center where you'll find photography tips and techniques, links to the gear used in this episode, and related videos. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. And the next time you're in New York City, visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue.
You think you could do it? Come on, here we go. Let's try it out.
Hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Digital Photography 101. I'm Tosca. This week we're going to talk about dog biscuits. You don't like it? Okay.
Digital Photography 101 is written and produced by Snap Factory. For more information about our workshops, visit snapfactory.com.